What's good? What's good? What's good, guys? What's good? Welcome back to another live. I feel like it's been a minute since I've been on one of these. What's good, Sam? How's things been, bro? It's been a hot minute since we've spoke, bro. How's things been?
Has been for real.
How's life going? And how's the trading adjustment going there, bro?
Yeah, bro. Not things are just busy. I think naturally. Obviously, about 2 weeks left till the move. Two full weeks, or like 3 weeks actually from like working today. But 2 full weeks left. Um, so yeah, it's just wrapping up. I think at work, that's been a bit crazy, but obviously trying to I don't know, just not trying to give myself that break, which I don't know, the decision's been done, but I haven't given myself a break in this time. I'm kind of just still trying to push forward on the processes, obviously leading up to the challenge. It's kind of this last week of the ICT sort of strategy implementation. So this week, so last week was very heavy, like studying, trying to like obviously get my notes in order, and then more back testing, but not sort of actively following how the market was developing and executing on positions. And then this week I've been paper trading basically, just so that I'm now getting a feel of actually implementing the strategy, just instead of only looking back on positions that have kind of passed. And it's been tough, I think, naturally, but look, still positive. There's a lot of trades that I've missed. I think I've missed like 2 or 3 trades already this weekend, potentially even more that I haven't seen. But something that I just said in my just daily analysis video that I posted on Trading Group, because I've been posting those Monday and Tuesday. Probably won't post tonight because we're on this. Something I said was like I should stop, or I just reminded myself that like I shouldn't put too much pressure on myself to like get like the entries like 100% at the moment, and focus more on building like the narrative in terms of getting the bias right, because that's where a lot of the strategy implementation comes, and like layering the confluences and working with time and all of that. I'm finding, which is strange, something that I used to focus on a lot in my previous strategy was the entry sort of criteria, like getting that entry right, and it seemed like the bias portion of it was sort of like very minimal, and like that was the quick part. But now it's kind of like done a 180, and getting the bias right requires like the most kind of like effort, and the
Mm.
execution portion of it. Yes, okay, it's look, the timing of it is a big thing that I'm still getting over, but like there's few things that I'm looking for, and once price gets into that area that I'm looking for, then it's the actual execution of it's quite straightforward. But yeah, I've been focusing less on that and more on building the narrative, and just based on the trades that I've missed, it seems like it's been quite in line with it's been going well, at least from that sense. But yeah, I entered one position so far for the week. It was at USD short that I was saying I may be able to enter live on the session, but it sort of presented itself like 45 minutes ago. And still holding that, which I'll show in a bit. But yeah, that's how I'm doing, what I've been up to, bro. What about yourself, bro? How's things been going? What's the data looking like?
Life
I know I didn't really get to catch
data.
up with your week because you weren't on the weekly review, but yeah, how you been doing, bro?
Uh, Life is life, bro. But in terms of trading, this week's been good, bro. Last week was atrocious. Last week was mad, but I think it's coupled
Bloodbath.
with like, bro, last week was wild. I think I took a few L's last week. Uh, And then starting off this week, I came into this week with another L. But I think when I refreshed myself over the weekend, I told myself like, at the end of the day, I know my strategy works. If you're gonna catch an L, you shouldn't feel any type of way if you're following your strategy. You know what I mean? Like, and I followed my
Yeah.
strategy with that L, and then the very next day, bro, hey, the markets were just doing bits, bro. So now I'm basically up now. I think I ended up May with 1%. So I gave back like 3% at the end of May in that last week.
Sure.
And then obviously starting off the month, like slightly a bit off. And then, bro, 4% yesterday, 2% today. It's just clean, bro. Clean, you know what I mean?
Clean.
So, yeah, like just feeling good again, just feeling like, obviously I'm trying to like remove emotions now. I'm trying to like just trade and like get myself in a mindset of like, bro, even if you catch an L, just remember that it's part of like the natural process of trading, you know what I mean? And if you do get into a like losing streak, it's fine as long as you're controlling your emotions and you're making sure that like you're following the plan. And I feel like last week there were lots of like I think two of the trades, like 2 out of the 3 losing trades that I've taken was like, oh, I shouldn't have done that one thing. You know what I mean? I should have waited for the first 1 minute of the 15-minute candle to first play out and then place my stop order. So yeah, bro, like it's those little tweaks that I was like thinking about over the weekend. And then like when I really thought about it and I pulled myself towards myself, I just told myself, nah, bro, you know your plan, read over it again, and then execute it. And coming into this week, it's been good. Today was pretty decent in the markets. Took 2 trades today, both 1%, so 2% up today. And yeah, bro, yeah, it's been pretty clean. And I'm just looking forward to it. Regards to like the rest of life, hey, bro, things have just been handling me. But okay, we move, and I feel like Germany's starting to come together now because I've like turned it up a notch with like my dieting. Like I've like turned it up. So yeah, I'm quite happy with like my dieting now, getting to a place where like I can see consistent like drop in weight and things like that. So yeah, bro.
Sure.
And then work is just gonna give me hands all the time. But yeah, yeah. Other than that, now I'm chilling, bro. I'm chilling. How are you finding the whole are you finding the whole like before we jump into the charts real quick, bro? Like the whole like ICT implementation and like putting like what you've learned obviously now because now you need to like relearn what you learned, you know what I mean? And then just like putting it into place. How's that process been, bro?
Yeah. To be honest, for a second there, I thought you were gonna ask me how I'm finding the whole like election things, bro. I was ready to go off, but then you mentioned
oh shit!
But it's all right. Yeah, it's that thing, bro. Not feeling like you're at square one because you never really feel like you're back at square one. But there's a lot of things that you kind of just don't know, which is unfamiliar because I think you develop this, I don't know, this thing of like you look back at how long you've been trading, so you almost feel like you should be in a position where you know like what you're doing very confidently and you kind of just like dialing down on what you know. And look, part of it's been that because like I mentioned to you in passing and also in the video, like it's a lot of new concepts, but it's also things that I've kind of been noticing because the strategy I was trading is very similar. So, I mean, but the strategy I was trading was mainly obviously big focus on structure, which is still there. But the way, like minor things, like the way structure is defined, obviously higher highs, higher lows, yes, but it's not just close below a high, close below a low. Yes, like and I don't want to say that's what it should be because I think I've just been conditioned to think that that's what structure should be. A close above a level means that we've broken structure, but it's like just unlearning that it's actually not that. It's more, or it's rather that it's more than that. It's yes, okay, we closed above structure, but it's like the how did we close above structure? So it's finding myself or stopping myself from falling into like those automatic like analysis patterns where I see something, but it's not just looking for a pattern and being very repetitive in how I look for certain things like a high, 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 low, high, high. It's like when something happens, I also need to ask, okay, how did it happen? What are other things that happened at the same time that are almost influencing this? And almost not just taking it at face value based on what I know. I think in honesty, these things are probably better learned or better implemented by someone who's like brand new or completely new because they have no preconceived notions around what should happen or how things should happen. But when you have learned a lot and now you're learning something else, we tend to bring the things we know into like this new thing, which isn't bad. It can curb the learning curve, but it can also like get in my own way sometimes where it's like the market may be showing me something based on this new strategy, but we closed below this low, but it actually wasn't a shift of structure. It was just a sweep of time-based liquidity, whether that was a weekly low or session low or whatever. And there wasn't a lot of conviction in the way we closed below. But what followed after that was a large displacement to the upside or whatever. And instead of seeing that as now, okay, now the real move's coming in, like the old me is saying, okay, we closed below, we're going to continue to the downside. This is the pullback to come lower instead of, okay, what are we actually doing now? Okay, I see this momentum. Okay, I should try to position myself to the upside because that was, a false move or whatever. So I'm seeing a lot of, and I think what I like is that I'm almost seeing where I would have made mistakes in the past because it's like, oh shit, like this happened and I would have taken it, I would have perceived it as this or that. And it's like, no, I can actually, I know why now things don't come all the way to that extreme low, that extreme point, that POI that I always would mark out. And sometimes price doesn't get to your POI. And it's like, you always wonder, like, geez, why didn't price get to this POI before we continued high? Yes, I know we're trending high, we're trending with momentum, but okay, well, it's just, it's part of the plan that price doesn't get to the POI, there's no entry, which is fine, but it's like, now it's almost like there's just more things in the toolkit that can explain to me why price didn't get to the POI. What else was there that was a barrier for price, that made that area more valuable for price to reject from instead of coming all the way low. And I'm seeing more often than not that we are respecting, fair value gaps over POIs or order blocks, as those names are really interchangeable. And so that's something I'm just focusing quite a bit on now. So yeah, it's like a lot to like learn, and it's almost like whenever I've learned a new strategy in the past, there's always like this thing of the initial implementation. There's like a lot of these like aha moments coupled with like positive feedback from the market, because like, I don't know, I've been able to implement new information like very easily, like in the past. And then, after that, gradually, like things kind of like level out. And I don't know, there's not as much of like that initial like positive like set of results or sequence of results. But I don't know, this time it's just not the case. Like I'm getting those aha moments, but I'm finding it very difficult to implement, which I'm not taking as a bad thing for now. But yeah, that's just something I'm taking note of. So yeah, I think excited to see where it goes. I'm finding that the strategy is just a rabbit hole, bro. And even in the video that, or the series of content that I said I was only focusing on, obviously now as we like build up to this 100K challenge, even in those videos, like there's questions that I have from like what the oaks are explaining. And like those questions like led me to, ICT's page, like ICT now, in the circle trade. And like 4 months ago, that man put all his content on YouTube, all his private mentorships, because he was like, I was sick and tired of Oaks taking my shit and selling it as a course. So I'm just gonna put it all up here. And it's like he literally he said obviously he consulted with like his members and like everyone was like, yeah, go for it, bro. And I was like, nah, he's just putting everything out there and anyone can come and if you take the time, you can just run through it all. So I'm like, geez, now there's like this whole bank of like ICT mentorship that's just like there for everyone to learn. And I'm probably gonna get stuck into that, bro, because it's just that thing of like just wanting to get to the source. And I think it's like found the source now. And it's like source is like there. But it's like I'm not gonna try to rush it. I just think there's more to learn in this than just like obviously a 2 or 3 month period. Because obviously it's always a continuous like learning journey. But also just not trying to get stuck in that thing of like always wanting like, new information kind of thing. But look, I don't think it changes how I'm going to prepare for the 100K challenge. I think the things I said I'm going to do leading up to that, that's still like set in place. But I think obviously now having like this whole library of like information that's going to go into even more depth than some of the videos I'm watching are, because the videos I'm watching are ICT students simplifying ICT's content, because that's something he said here. Folks say that like they're better teachers than me and they can like translate the content in like a more digestible way, but it's like that's not what it was meant to do. Like I didn't put it out there, or they didn't learn it from me that way because that was the best way to do it. It's like, yes, they may have gotten to that point where they can simplify the concepts, but at the end of the day, it's the deeper understanding that's there that they learn from me, and they learn from me in the way that I teach it. So they're better than me, and it would be called their strategy or whatever, but it's actually not. So I'm your mentor's mentor. If you want to come to the source, then this is where it's at. You want to take it how it is. And it's going to go deep, but it goes deep for a reason, kind of thing. So, yeah, bro, finding myself in a bit of a ICT rabbit hole, which is fine. I'm here for it. But already, I think initially, it's getting some good feedback from it, bro. Like I've been saying this over the past couple of weeks. It's just now like implementing that we're going for. So that's kind of the long short of how that's going.
I also know that ICT had like a mentorship like on YouTube, bro. So yeah, there's that, and there's a lot of information on ICT, bro. Like a lot of information. I know you're probably still gonna get stuck into OTE and all of those things. Like there's just so much information that like
that's bad.
I don't know, like because pro there is the most information on ICT. So yeah, there's a lot of like
there's I don't know, there's a technical or retail legend of our time. It's ICT, bro. And folks they can say what they want about the strategy, bro, but they can't dispute that. You really can't. Like, it's the precision is just crazy, bro. And it's just I know we don't need to complicate things because stuff is complex and trading doesn't need to be complicated like that. But it's like I don't know. It's hard to explain, bro, when you just want to go to like a deeper level, and especially when you're stuck in like the simple things you're doing are maybe not yielding the results that you want. So it's okay to like just go deeper and learn more.
Yeah, it is.
If what you're doing isn't working, then you must change what you're doing. There's no point trying to stay simple if simple, just a simple trend line strategy isn't working for you, bro. So yeah, bro. But
100%, bro. 100%. You wanna jump into the charts, eh?
Yeah, let's do that, my G. Nice little rant to catch up. Let me know when you can see.
Yeah, exactly, bro. It's been a minute, bro. Yeah, I can see your charts, bro.
All right. So basically, just briefly, the way I kind of look at charts now, it's still a sort of top-down analysis, but I think what I look for is a bit different. Daily and weekly is pretty much the same in terms of obviously looking at structure, marking out structure, but then identifying my internal, external range, sort of liquidity, external range being highs and lows, and then internal range being fair value gaps, order blocks, POIs, basically. So the theory is kind of the same in that price trades from internal to external range liquidity, and that cycle continues. So essentially, price makes a new high, pulls back to point of interest, and then continues. So that's what I look for on the daily, weekly. For 1 hour, or mainly for looking or identifying your market maker models, which again is something I said in my weekly review video. Something I'm still kind of trying to understand. But where I understand it is it's almost a sequence of liquidity being engineered so that price can trade a certain point, a certain key level, but it does so in a sequence that is sort of recognizable and tradable because price then reverses past or once it completes that sequence. So that's like, there's a lot there that I don't understand, but I'm starting to map them out and seeing how they align with sort of key levels. And then once there's that on the 1 hour, 4 hour, there's just confirming structure again on the minute 15 and looking for that shift of structure in those key levels from the minute 15 time frame. And then the 1 minute and the 5 minute are mainly entry time frames. And then there's three sort of entry types that I look for: either market structure shift, SMT divergence, which is just really divergence. But that's normally, if you look at a correlated pair, you'll need to pair that and then find divergence on either one of them. That can be an entry type, or an inverted fair value, which is basically like what happened here. So that's a fair value gap. We inverted it when we closed beyond it, and then we just take the entry like that. So no, that's the gap. Sorry. So that's kind of like the sequence I look at. So starting on dollar index, currently bearish on this, but I see it as still part of the pullback before we head higher. But I think for the week, I think definitely price heading lower. So that's bearish on the dollar for the week, bullish dollar cross pairs. I think from a daily perspective, the shift here when we inverted the value gap yesterday, or I think the Monday close. I think after that close, that kind of signaled to me that we were going to head a bit lower. But in any case, on the 4 hour, we had really been trending lower for some time and respecting those structural levels. So you can see even on the 4 hour, we have, that structural sort of lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, price trading from internal to external range liquidity. And mapping that out here, we are currently in that pullback, but I think seeing that reverse from this fair value gap here, which is 4 hour level, but I've just refined that on the 1 hour. And then getting into that, we then had the run of liquidity here on the minute 15, and now just pending that break of structure to the downside. So like how that's forming from the top-down perspective, like how really the whole structure of this is forming, and looking for that to head lower for the remainder of the week. So with that in mind, we see bullish then on Euro USD. I like that early in the week we unlike dollar index, we got the close above that previous daily high. So that was a new sort of range that we had formed. So broke above that external range, and then obviously then signaled, or that began the pullback into internal range liquidity, and then dropping down to the 4 hour. And bro, my charts are busy at the moment, like busy. Don't mind me, bro. Like there's what's going on. But I'm not trying to keep it clean at the moment, because any confluence that I can kind of identify, I mark it on. And over time, I think it will get a bit cleaner. But for now, I'm busy, bro. So 4 hour, still again identified these ranges, internal to external. We had to pull back into this fair value gap, which I refined on the 1 hour. And if you haven't seen my latest weekly review, fair value gap is basically three candlestick formation with a sort of large expansive middle candle that displaces quite a bit. And it's the gap between obviously the previous, or the first candlestick, and the wick of the first candlestick and the third candlestick. So an imbalance, basically, in simple terms. You've got your one-sided and your two-sided. Your one-sided, obviously, all the same candlesticks up here. These are your high probability. And then your two-sided, like this one right here, because we do have one there, is a lower probability fair value gap. So the daily, we have our internal to external range. We've pulled back into that 4 hour key level fair value gap, just refined it on the 1 hour. On the 1 hour, we've got just a whole host of confluences. We had the sweep of liquidity here, time-based liquidity, and then we displaced to the upside, good sign. We broke structure and formed that fair value gap, which makes it a break in structure gap, which is just a higher probability fair value gap. And then at that point as well, we can extend that break of structure point for what is known as like an inflection point, which is more of a confluence and not something that's used on its own, but where a break in structure gap forms and there's that confluent inflection point, then that's a really strong combination. And then in that whole mix as well, we've got a breaker block, which is basically the last point against structure before the sweep in liquidity, before the break of structure to the upside. A bit more of like an advanced concept, but we've got that as a confluence as well in this point. And I think with all of that already, before then, the sweep of liquidity here that we had today, this area was like a very high probability sort of area or zone for me, where I was looking for to hit high. And so I think what kind of just lined up the entry nicely was I saw that we had come into the level and then reacted away quite strongly. And then we were kind of just correcting the whole day today, which gave me more confidence that we were going to sweep that liquidity to some extent. And we did, and that just lined up nicely with all the other confluences that were already in that area. And so, yeah, 1 hour was clean from that perspective. The minute 15, it wasn't really on this that I was looking for the shift of structure, but we did come into that area, and then it was more of a 1 minute entry, to be honest, once we were in that key level. I'll just explain that quickly. So the 1 minute came in, we ran that liquidity again at this point. We ran the liquidity, break of structure, again, formed the fair value gap as we broke the structure. So there's that obviously confluent break of structure gap. And then the entry was slightly premature, just because we we tapped into it, which was a valid mitigation, and then I just waited for the inversion of this fair value gap, and then hence took the entry at that point. But could have waited for another sort of shift of structure on the 1 minute, which we did eventually get. But to be honest, at this point, I was kind of thinking, because we've broken below this level, that we were going to probably just run stops and come lower into an area down there before going higher. But it's just kept me in. And yeah, we're kind of trading higher nicely now, which was a solid entry. So yeah, about 5.5 pips. What I target is the opposing time-based liquidity, which is today's high, and that's solid 4.6%, and that's not even targeting the top of this current 4-hour range or external range liquidity, which could have made it a 9R sort of position. So yeah, my management is slightly different now as well. I don't move to break even at 1%. At 1%, I sort of just take some risk off the table and apply the half risk method. So 55, 25, 27 odd. So just put that in now. Yeah, stocks are not, risk isn't completely off the table, but stocks at least aren't, but risk isn't at full exposure either, basically. So yeah, that was actually the first this is the first position I've taken, using this new strategy in terms of analyzing it and then executing the position in real time instead of looking back on it. So yeah, let's see how that plays out. I'm bullish on dollar for the remainder of the week. Same bearish on US 30, US $30 index. That's USD. I promise I won't spend as much time on the this, because I don't think there's much else on the others for me personally at the moment. Pound JPY, from a daily perspective, not much to work on, just in terms of looking at structure. We did achieve these highs. I think after such a sort of steady sort of trickle higher, I'm expecting this to go sideways for a bit. And so we didn't really break that high with much conviction either, which tells me we may be coming a bit lower. And structure in the 4 hours kind of starting to make those lower lows, lower highs. I just am wary of whether that's going to start really heading lower, or this will kind of be our low, this is our high, and then we kind of just trade in between here for some time. But I think, look, I have marked up just a few areas, this extreme point here, the order block, and then on the 1 hour, there's fair value gap, which is just the last of many that have been kind of just inverted on the way higher. I think we'll probably run through this. But yeah, if this level holds and then we start to come lower, then I think price will come down to these lows at least. And then beyond there, yeah, I'm not too sure. We could either come all the way back higher, or if we form a new low, then I think that's going to be a better sign, or a clearer sign at least, that we are starting to head lower on this pair. But not a lot of confluences for me here personally. Not a lot of structure to work with in terms of, there is on the 4 hour, but not much on the weekly or daily. So yeah, the only move I would really look at this week is taking price down to these lows. And if we start to get a reaction from this level here, and we shift structure on that minute 15, then I'll definitely look to, yeah, take some positions to the downside. but this would be in, that move would be in direct conflict of the USD long that I'm looking at. But if it does start to happen, then maybe I'll be able to I'll manage that EU long a bit closer. USD it's been trading quite nicely, actually, to be honest, for the past couple of weeks. I've missed 2 setups on this week that were just very clean. But what I'm seeing now on the daily is we've got a clear sort of range that we're trading within. I think this is really the only, in terms of fair value gaps. Obviously, there is, if we can mark out this extreme high here, is that order block, but the only fair value gap, so in terms of liquidity within this range. And I'm looking at how the daily closes today to see how I'll position myself for, I think, the last 2 days on this, because if we continue to reject this area the way we did over these 2 days, and it's this rejection there as well, I think that's going to be a sign that we're heading a bit lower, maybe to these areas here, or potentially just to the 4-hour low. But if we do close above this area, then I think that's going to be an indication that we are heading higher to those daily highs. And so just coming down to the 4-hour, there's not much, I think. Oh, on the 4-hour though, these 3 candlesticks are sort of telling me that momentum's pretty strong to the upside. The fact that we've got the 4-hour close above that level, I think the daily will also follow suit. And if that's the case, then I think we could see a continuation from this area tomorrow to the upside, which would favor, those EU shorts, because the dollar would obviously be appreciated. So, but helping this pullback can maybe lock in something, and then we don't know how the dollar will actually do with NFP on Friday. So I'm just waiting for a bit of confirmation here. Nothing clear yet, but the move that I think had the most opportunity has kind of already played out, which was quite clean, just along from these areas here that played out quite nicely. And then, US 30, last but not least. Whereas I think on this, we've been bullish, here, and hence have marked out that range accordingly. I think we've pulled back into the extreme of that range here. And while I am bullish from this point, there's, based on the lower time frames, I think a question of whether we're going to come down for one last test and sweep up these lows before we come higher, or high from here. I think that's the only 2 things I'm kind of debating. Looking at the 4-hour, I think it's mainly because we didn't get the sweep of this consolidation in this area. If we did, then I would have been more convinced that we are heading higher, but this is looking more like correction into this area. Can use that as our sort of 4-hour range, and price is now heading higher into that fair value gap to come lower, which is will sort of unfold on US 30. But from these low time frame areas, not much in terms of entry. We obviously did respect this 4-hour fair value gap, and we've kind of just been trading higher, and I think I'll just wait for it to get into these areas here, and then look for potential short opportunities down into that area there. So couple potential setups on watch. I think EU has, I don't know if it's because it's just the pair that I'm also back testing the most now, so there's kind of like this flow that I'm in with it. But few opportunities on other pairs. It just, I think they just need a bit of time. But there's also NFP on Friday, so I'm not trying to force positions because the market sometimes only makes up its mind post NFP. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing. G.
Nah,
What
clean, bro,
what's on
clean.
the charts?
Uh, so
Added for
I
that, bro.
just
I know
wanted to take you
sometimes I
through.
think of late, sorry, my analysis just takes a bit longer of late because I just have to go through that process for it to make sense. So yeah,
Nah, no
I'll
problem,
take
bro.
time.
No problem. Was also still like the concepts is still quite new, so yeah, I think as you speak yourself through it, you probably like reaffirming and like just understanding it a bit more. You know what I mean? It's that thing of like if you
Sure,
teach something where you speak through it, you learn a bit more. So yeah,
sure.
but I just wanted to take you through like the past couple weeks, bro. So as I mentioned last week, bro, the last week of May was a bit of a bit of a tough time. But in this week really did the most. So if I just go through like so last week ending the week in -2%. Uh yeah. So I took two L's at the start of the week and then followed by a winner and then a loser, which basically ended that day up break even.
Mm,
And then this has been this week, bro. So if I just let me just do this from Sunday the 2nd. So this week. So coming out of last week, obviously with all the L's and things like that, and then you start the week off with like another L. It's just like, bro, what's going on? You know what I
mm,
mean? So but then yesterday was a banger of a day on GJ, bro. Like it just aligned and like some of the trades were just clean, just taking you through like this one pretty clean in my opinion. Like the daily was bearish, 4H was bearish. We had bearish correlation like across all pairs basically. So all I really did was and like this one was a bit tricky in that like it played with my mental because all of these candles were pre-London, right? So
mm,
all I'm thinking is this pair has already moved like 30 pips, bro. Usually like the average of a 4H for GJ is like 40 to 50 pips. Like, but I do know that where price action is on like the daily time frame, there's a high chance that once we're gonna start pulling back, like these major pullbacks might happen and like these major like impulsive moves to the downside. So when price action like form these swing lows on the 15-minute time frame. This was right before London session. Then we got the breakout at London Open. And like that to me, although this breakout was quite huge, because my stop right here, Sam, is not even above the previous 15-minute candle. My stop is 25 pips, bro. Like,
mm,
so price action was really moving. This 15-minute covered hella, hella space in the market, covered hella pips. So I was just telling myself, like, in like the simple like the most simplest way in understanding the markets, like regardless of what strategy you're going to trade, if price action is going down and you're selling it, like if it's going down, it's going to go in your direction. If it's going up, it's going to go in your
mm,
direction. You know what I mean? That's the simplest
mm,
way of explaining it to somebody. Like if price action is moving up and you're going to enter buy, the simplest way is that like if it is going up, you're going to go in profit. If it's going like down and it's going to go against you, it is what it is, bro. You just need to execute on your
mm,
strategy. Obviously, price action closed below this 15-minute key level. I scaled down to the 1 minute. I'm not sure if I have the 1 minute. I don't have the 1 minute. Scaled down to the 1 minute, and then I just took my sells below like 1 minute lows, sell stops, and then I just traded lower. And that's just one of like the 6 days that I've taken this week or 5 days that I've taken this week, and they all been pretty clean. So yeah, bro, that's how this week is looking. I'm
very
up
clean.
by 5% this week, bro. So yeah, pretty decent. No trading tomorrow, so I'm pretty fine with ending the week this way. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Uh, looking clean, but I know obviously Friday is still there. However, we do know that as you mentioned, Friday has NFP, so I am keeping that in mind. Jumping into the charts, bro. Like so, DXY from a daily
what's
perspective,
up?
to me, we're in a key area in the market right now, and the way price action like reacts off from this area, whether it be break below or bounce off from these areas, that's what I'm going to determine for like where price action is going to head to. Now I do know that EU obviously showed its cards in a way where it broke above like a key area already on the daily time frame. However, DXY hasn't as yet. Now, when you scale down into lower time frames, it's just like, bro, these breaks of structures for the 4H to go back bullish is like kind of far. And so, like with that being said, I think there is a potential chance that with if you add EU's confluence to like to the markets and to the charts, that like there is a big chance that DXY could potentially push to the downside. However, like I just need to keep in mind this point of interest that we have, or this order block, if you want to call it. Yeah, this key level in the market where price action could either shift to the downside from a daily perspective or break out of. So right now I'm kind of in limbo with DXY, and I don't necessarily know where it could potentially go, just based on like the way the 4H is bearish, but then daily is pretty bullish. So yeah, or dailies in a key area at least where price action could potentially bounce out of. Jumping into EU, I think as I mentioned, we had the daily break of structure right here, and now price action has basically been creating these corrections to potentially push to the upside. Now, if DXY is right, then this could be a fake out and a liquidity grab. If EU is right, then DXY could then like break to the downside. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm kind of in limbo in this sense. And I'm just gonna like wait to see. Now, my clear confirmation on EU would be a clear break above these 4H highs. And once that happens to me, then I can clearly say, okay, the daily broke above daily structures. The 4H is continuing bullish structures. So now I can clearly anticipate that price action is going to push to the upside. And that's what I'm going to be looking for, bro. Now, if price action breaks below these 4H levels here, then that to me then indicates a potential that EU basically faked out to the upside or collected liquidity, whatever you want to call it, fake out, liquidity grab, breakout, break back into the range, like whatever you want to call it. But to me, that's only confirmed once these 4H higher lows have been like broken and shifted to the downside. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. But right now, from an EU perspective, purely on structure, I'm looking for a push to the upside to form a higher high and then get these higher lows where you could potentially see shifts for the buys to the upside. And then jumping onto GJ, I'm personally pretty bearish on GJ on the basis that, as you mentioned, like if you look at this push to the upside, this push to the upside has taken quite some time, bro. From the 6th of May, currently now on the 6th of June, this push to the upside took pretty much a full month. And so, yes, we were impulsively moving to the upside, but it's not as impulsive as these corrections. So what I'm anticipating is for price action to push to the downside once again. But as you know, I always like that shift of another lower low before I can definitively say that price action is going to continue to the downside. Now, how will I trade this thing? Obviously, I don't trade tomorrow. Potentially on Friday, if the daily closes bearish on Thursday, then I could then anticipate the price action would have these pushes to the downside. Now, I do think that based on these big ass moves to the upside and where price action is at the current moment, there is potential that price action could like start correcting from a higher time frame perspective. Because if you look at like the weekly, you can clearly see that price action has been pushing from these areas, which is the last higher lows. We've just been pushing to the upside all along. And well, you fight with that these are the higher lows right here. But like we've just been impulsively moving to the upside with little to no corrections from a weekly perspective. So I am anticipating some type of weekly correction in the next couple of weeks from GJ. USD ZAR, I think I was doing analysis on the 4H. This looks pretty clean. This is like one of the only weeks where I can clearly say that USD ZAR looks like clean structures with higher highs, higher lows. And all I'm doing is I'm anticipating corrections now to then take it higher. And yeah, like we had the break above, quite strong impulsive move to the upside. all we need to do now is wait for these corrections and then potentially see price action push to the upside. That's all we're doing. Like, or all I'm doing. I'm waiting for either into these areas or into the actual point of interest that created this push to the upside. Once price action gets into these points of interest or key levels in the market, we can then start to shift down on or scale down on timeframes and then see the break of structure back up and then potentially target higher time frame highs. Going on to US 30. US 30, I'm pretty bearish on US 30 on the basis that the 4H is breaking structures and forming lower lows, lower highs. Now, last lower high is these areas, and I think you marked them out too. I think you just had the fair value gap or imbalance marked out, but I'm anticipating a pullback to the upside. Now, I know you scaled down to the 1H time frame to mark your imbalance. Was it on this pair or was it on? I think it was on this pair.
No,
You marked your imbalance in
no,
these areas.
I think I kept it on the 4 hour. Kept it on the 4 hour.
On the 4 hour. Okay, so then you marked it in around these areas then. Okay, so it's pretty much the same thing. Looking for price action to push up into those areas and then start to see low time frame shifts to then target the push to the downside. Where's this arrow? Arrows. So then targeting possibly these lows here, which we could see coming into the downside. So that's pretty much been like, or what I'm looking for moving into the back end of the week. Bro. Yeah, this week has been pretty clean.
Yeah.
And bro.
Now that's clean, bro. I think it's we've practically seen similar things. I think there's obviously just that uncertainty on dollar index, and it's the dollar index EU, because there are those two scenarios that could play out. I think I'm perhaps making me just aware that I may be heavily invested in one bias, but I think there's just signs, like you're saying. EU already ran that daily high, and that inversion on the fair value gap on dollar index, kind of is giving me signs that we may be heading low on the daily, even though the level you've marked out is technically that lower end of the range. Let's just see how it plays out. But to your man, bro.
Let's see.
Shout out, buddy.
Wow. Shout out, bro. Love for the love, bro.
Shout out.
Your man is broke. That's funny as fuck. Goddamn.
This was a bit of a long one, bro. But I think there's just a lot to digest. We obviously hadn't caught up in a minute as well. Just shout out for that, bro. I think I'm keen to just get back into the markets next week. I think just looking forward to getting back to it in just a bit more of a stable position. Obviously, there's a lot that still feels new, but I think it's feeling a lot better about what the next couple of weeks and months looking like. So, bro, any closing thoughts or
100%.
words?
I just think stick to what you're doing, bro. Like, to those that's going through a learning phase, those that's like really raking it, stick to what you're doing, put your head down, continue working, and that's pretty much it, bro. Like, just continue working regardless of like where you're at in your plan. As long as you have a plan and you execute it, the important thing is to execute on your plan and continue working, bro. So you have any closing thoughts?
I think just to build on top of that, just keep that consistency. Because something I'm learning is you can obviously craft the plan. The plan can be good, and it's something we spoke about in that 100K challenge video. And I think I reminded myself when I re-looked at it just at the end. It's like, plan is there and works, and anyone watching, whatever plan you have to get to wherever you want to go, you'll find it's a solid plan. But just kind of got to do the work and be consistent with it because the time passes anyway. Like it feels like I've blinked and like this 2 week break has kind of like just like flown by. And there were parts of it where I felt like I was like slacking and behind, but I was like, geez, I can't afford to because at the end of this 2 weeks, I said I was going to do certain things to be at a certain level of like comfort with like implementing the strategy. If you don't just stay consistent with it, then the time's going to pass you by and you're kind of just going to be in the same position as you were. So, yeah, stick to the plan, put the head down because time passes whether you do the work or not. Yeah, buddy. I guess, yeah, just to
100%.
close, consistency is the choice you make when you start doing things you know you should be doing day in and day out. From your boys at the Modern Day Trader. Peace out.